Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a meeting of Brant County Council for June the 23rd, 2026. Attendance has been taken, noting that everyone is here except Ella, and she's on her way and she's stuck in traffic. The next thing on the agenda is our land acknowledgement, and Councillor Miller has that for us.
He does. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As we gather, we acknowledge that we meet on the lands and territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, 6 nations of the Grand River, and the traditional territory of the Attawandarock. Excuse me. We remind ourselves that the County of Brant is situated on lands that are full of rich Indigenous history and home to many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. We recognize the significance of their contributions to the past, present, and future of this land. As a county, we have a shared responsibility for the stewardship of the land on which we live and work, and a commitment to the Truth and Reconciliation calls to action. We commit to continue learning, reflecting on our past, and working in allyship.
Thanks, Councillor Miller. Third thing is the agenda. We have an agenda in front of us. Does anyone have any additions to the agenda? Councillor Miller?
I do have one under other business, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, so that means Councillor McAlpine, you have that.
Okay. Moved by myself and second by Councillor Kyle that the County of Brant Council agenda of June 23rd, 2026 as amended be approved.
Thank you. All those in favor of the agenda? Opposed? Carried. Number 4 on the agenda is the declaration of pecuniary interest. Does anyone see one that's obvious? If one crops up, please let me be the first one to know. Number 5 is our delegations. We have 2 delegations tonight. We have one that has withdrawn. So the first one is going to be 5.2, which is Kate Burns Gallagher, representing the Wardens, Western Wardens. Welcome. And just give us your full name, please, and who you represent when you get to the podium.
Wonderful, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, through you to County Council. My name is Kate Burns Gallagher, and I'm the Executive Director of the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We will be giving you an update on the past year of the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus and what we've been up to, and we always appreciate Brant County as one of our key members in the organization. So let's just make sure here. I'll just click. Here we go. So who we are, we've been coming to see you on a regular basis for the past few years, but it's always good to provide an update. So we are the 15 upper and single tier municipalities across Western Ontario. We represent more than 300 communities, 117 municipalities, 1.6 million residents, and close to 250,000 businesses. We are 90% rural, and yet we are home to the economic engine of the province, which includes manufacturing, agriculture, energy, tourism, and supply chain sectors that are essential to the province and the country's productivity. Our strength is in our collective voice and the collaboration across our member counties. What we do, as a collective, as those 15 counties, at our core, we exist to advance shared interests and regional priorities for the region. We provide a unified voice to government. We conduct research and analysis to inform solutions, and we build partnerships that expand capacity across our counties. Our work is consistent, nonpartisan, and grounded in evidence. And what we aim for. So these are our 4 major goals that were set in our strategic plan. And so the first one being the voice for the region. We want to be consistent and have coordinated advocacy across the region. As an information source, we provide our membership with insights, data, and research. As an asset for our counties, we have shared regional initiatives, tools, and we have capacity building. And as a valued partner to government, we have proactive engagement that positions the WOWC as a collaborative problem solver. This structure really positions the caucus for measurable outcomes and sharper advocacy. I slid there. There we go. And how do we do this? We do this through collaboration. We start off with our caucus, where you are represented well by Mayor Bailey. And then we have our CAO's team with CAO Newton. And then we have a staff team, which involves an executive director, manager of government relations, and an admin coordinator. From there, we then pull on the resources, the expertise, and the knowledge of the staff at our 15 counties. And I would be remiss if I was here and not give a great shout out to all of the staff. So from our planning subject matter expert team, Jeremy Vink, from our social services team, Hallie Gilmore, from our communications team, Lisa Henrique, from our ECDev team, Zach Gable. And this year, we also added a government relations team where Delia Reich sits on. So those teams really help feed information from what's happening on the ground in our communities, in our counties, and have that feed up to our caucus where we advance the work in advocacy. So I mentioned those 4 goals, and first up is the voice for this region and our strategic priorities that we focused on for this year. Now we have 4 overarching priorities, and then we've really even honed in even more onto 3 really specific, what we're calling our laser focused priorities for this year. So first up is infrastructure development and funding. I'm sure of no surprise to anyone in this room, infrastructure is foundational to our communities. It's the roads, bridges, water, wastewater, broadband, and transit. Our rural communities face high capital costs and limited revenue bases to maintain these assets. So we have been advocating for continued and predictable infrastructure funding, investment in transportation connectivity, recognition of Western Ontario as role as an economic driver, and policies that support long-term sustainable asset management. Our second priority is housing affordability and availability. And this goes hand in hand with infrastructure. Housing affordability and supply challenges continue across the region, particularly in our rural communities where growth is rapid. And our municipalities are not able to keep up with the infrastructure needs. So they're not silos, infrastructure and housing, as we all know, they need to go together. And so our laser focused priority this year was really on rural infrastructure that supports housing. And we're very hopeful that there will be an announcement this summer around the time of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, or AMO conference, and it was alluded to during the Development Charge Reduction Program announcement last month. So we're hopeful that our advocacy on that front will result in dedicated funding for rural communities for infrastructure. Up next is the workforce development and preservation. Workforce retention expansion remain critical for the region to continue to be the economic driver of the province. We are pushing here for workforce housing solutions, training partnerships with colleges, universities, and industry, broadband and transportation improvements, and policy tools that help employers recruit and retain talent. Our laser-focused priority here is on regional rural transit. And what we're doing right now is working with Dillon Consulting and looking at where all the transit is in the region and where there are gaps. If you can believe it, there's actually not a consolidated list of all the transit in Western Ontario. So we're starting with that to get the data, as we've mentioned, so that that can inform our advocacy as the next step. And last but not least, mental health services and support. This is a growing issue and concern in our communities, and a growing concern that has not happened in rural communities to the extent that we're seeing it today. So we are advocating for dedicated funding for rural mental health and addictions, supports through the Homelessness Prevention Program, expanded wraparound service models. We were successful in securing a grant for Lambton County and Simcoe County, a pilot project for partnering. It was the mobile crisis response team, so partnering paramedics with social workers, and the diversion rates from the emergency room have been incredible. So we want to make sure that that program becomes permanent and accessible for all of our counties. Going back to those 4 overarching goals, as an information source, what we're aiming to be, we're looking at our role as a research and information source for the region. And it's a major strength in our ability to provide data, insight, and evidence for decision making. Some of the examples include that we've been working on regional economic development strategy implementation. We have an incredible workforce strategy and labor market intelligence work that we pulled together regionally. housing and infrastructure data tools that we partnered with the Rural Ontario Institute on, research partnerships with post-secondary institutions, including Western, Guelph, and Waterloo, and supply chain mapping work. And we've also made an application to the province for the Trade Impacted Communities Partnership that we're hoping to hear about shortly. So at the end of the day, all this research positions us as a credible voice. We're doing the work to support the advocacy and support our counties in planning. Thirdly, we talked about in our goals of being an asset for our counties. And what does that look like? It looks like collaborative initiatives, and there's many of them. I mentioned in that research, we've done a Western Ontario workforce strategy, and that strategy was an overarching strategy for all 15 of our counties and how to look at workforce and how workforce travels and moves in the region. Rural housing systems research, a partnership with the Rural Ontario Institute, supply chain mapping, broadband partnerships, so that harkens back to SWIFT and the great work we've been doing there, post-secondary research partnerships, in our Western Ontario Municipal Conference, which is in its third iteration this year, in the Fall Funders Forum, which was a huge success here in the past fall. We actually ran out of space here in Brant County, which was bringing ministry and folks to our counties to share about the funding that they have from not-for-profits, municipalities, and business. And lastly, as a value partner of government, and what that looks like. So let me get one more up here. Perfect. So that includes strong engagement, and our advocacy is a big piece of that. And how do we do that? It's through meetings with ministers. We meet with ministers in their home constituencies. We meet with them at Queen's Park. We conduct submissions, so when there are postings to the regulatory website, legislative website, we are working with those subject matter expert teams to make sure we have all of the subject matter experts and knowledge and providing submissions. We have legislative analysis. We have pre-budget work that we also do and submit. We attend pre-budget meetings as well. And we work quite closely with our provincial and federal partnerships, whether it's with the Rural Ontario Municipal Association or the Association of Municipalities of Ontario. We have a seat at the AMO board as the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, and that's an incredibly valuable space to be where the conversations are happening. We also have policy briefs. We are currently working on 2 white papers around mental health issues as well as on infrastructure as well. And we attend all of the major conferences as well. And we have a Queen's Park Day. Our most recent Queen's Park Day just last month, it was on May the 4th. The force was strong with us that day. We were able to meet with several ministers during the day, and then in the evening had a remarkable reception where we were able to not only meet with ministers, but also showcase local food businesses. Each of our counties brought a local food item to share at Queen's Park, which was a huge success. And we had over 250 MPPs and MPP staff come to talk and learn about the region and about what our counties are doing and advocate for those 3 laser-focused initiatives. So what does 2026 look like and beyond? The future is very bright. We have strong engagement with government sectors. We continue our regional research. We advocate with clarity and purpose. We continue to strengthen relationships at all levels of the government and expand our regional research and analysis. And we look forward to working with new caucus members for 2027. And to all of those, we'll be hitting the ground running in 2027 after the municipal elections with a new strategic plan come February. So we will head to AMO in January, and then we'll be hitting the ground running with a strategic plan to set us up well for the next 4 years as an organization. So we've got great plans. The work that we're doing is moving forward, and we couldn't do that without the support of your staff teams and all of you here that participate in the WOWC. So thank you so much to all of you. And if there's any questions, Mayor, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work that you do. Councilor, do you have any questions for the delegation? Councilor Pierce, you're first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the delegate. Can you just circle back? I didn't catch everything you said there. It was in regards to, there was a grant that you received regarding paramedics and social services, I believe, and was it in the the diversion is up because of it. Can you just elaborate a little bit on that?
Happy to, through you, Mayor. So that's the Mobile Crisis Response Team pilot program. And so in our region, Lambton County and Simcoe County both received funding. For Lambton County, it was $2 million. I'm not sure for Simcoe. I don't have my numbers in front of me. And so that was partnering social workers with paramedics for calls. So instead of individuals who are in mental health crisis going to the emergency room, the social workers were able to help at the call right away. In Lambton County, it's called the CHIC team, CHIC, if you're looking to look it up. There's some great videos on that program. And so it's a 2-year pilot that will end March 31st of 2027. So we're starting advocacy now to try and make sure that those pilot projects become permanent and accessible for the rest of our counties.
That would be interesting to get more information on that for our county.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Councillor Haley.
Yes, thank you for your report. I'm really interested in the public transit that you're looking at. And I apologize, there was an accident or road blockage on Governor's Road, so I had to turn around. But did the earlier report on migrant farm workers, was it presented already?
Nothing's been presented already.
No, they did?
No,
They're not here. Okay, but a key thing in the report that was submitted by the Legal Aid Clinic was that migrant farm workers are stuck on farms, isolated, and they can't access public transportation. They're quite isolated. But also, if you go to University of Guelph from Brantford, you can't get a bus to University of Guelph. So I'm really interested in any research, any reports that you've looked at, if you could ever share those with me, on intercity public transit, not just GO bus to Hamilton or Toronto, but, you know, how do we get to Waterloo? How do we get to Guelph? How do migrant farm workers get off the farm? We do have some form of, you know, you can book Brant Transit, but it's, I just would like to see best practices, if you could ever share that with me.
Great. Thank you, Mary, through you, the councillor. We hope to have the layers. So what we're doing, we're working with Dillon Consulting to first look at all of the transit in the Western Ontario region and layering that on top of post-secondary, where the post-secondary is, where hospitals are, where at-risk populations are, as well as where employment is. So we hope to have that in the next 3 to 4 months. So more than happy to share it back with the county council as well as you, councillor, when we have that information.
Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you to Kate. Kate, you talk like my daughter, very fast.
Oh,
but
sorry.
I think I got most of it. And I'm going to mention SWIFT. SWIFT come from WowC, and it's been a success story. It's one of the few government programs that has over-delivered on budget, on time, and it has a very good reputation at the provincial level. And I know that because you have provincial ministers calling SWIFT up saying, you know, can you take on this project? Can you take on that project? And they wouldn't do that if SWIFT wasn't doing a great job. So we know they're doing well. But we look to WowC to help us with those things, those issues that obviously are beyond our borders, right? They benefit us, but they're beyond our borders. And I wanted to talk about what Councillor Haley brought up, and that's transit. And for a while now, we as a council have expressed an interest in maybe integrating with other municipalities on transit. And here we are, 4 years on, and we are not integrated Brant Transit with Norfolk, Ride Norfolk, and I thought we would have been there by now, but we're not. So the transit is a file I hope WowC picks up and runs with. Warden Marcus Ryan, he brought up a suggestion which I thought was pretty good, and I don't know if WowC's looking into this as well, because he mentioned, there's a lot of, it's complicated transit, right, especially in between municipalities. He talked maybe a governance model kind of similar to SWIFT has, right? Every municipality has a representative on there, and they can kind of hash out all the problems. So do you see that maybe coming down the pipes?
Through you, Mayor, to the councillor. Yeah, I would like to believe that transit could be the next broadband. I think as our region grows, we need to look at transit as a piece of our infrastructure, as a way to get people moving, as an economic driver, no pun intended, or maybe there is a pun intended there. And SWIFT is such a good model in getting things done and how government can work together to actually put something in the ground. And in this case, it would be getting the buses on the road. So I think there's a real opportunity, and SWIFT has set us up well as a precedent and a model. And so when Chair Ryan spoke about that, that's definitely the avenue where we want to get to, but we need to define the problem first, and that's why we're doing the research, so that we can understand the problem first to then take us to those next levels. So baby steps, but we will get there, I'm hopeful.
Okay, and I understand the need for baby steps, and anything rushed at municipal or provincial or federal never works out well, but when we've been sitting here for years and we're, you know, we're still looking for, it is frustrating, but yeah, full support for me, for sure. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions for the delegation? Councillor Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question, just some philosophy, if you might. The region is comprised of upper tier and single tier municipalities. I think Brant, Norfolk, and Chatham-Kent are the only single tier municipalities. I'm just wondering, in terms of advocacy and in terms of what the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus does, how does that include the lower tier municipalities? Does that present problems? Is that a strength? Is that a weakness? How do you blend the interests of the lower tiers into the upper tiers, et cetera?
Through you, Mayor, to the councillor. Great question. So I would say we've been increasing the involvement of the lower tiers, or municipal partners, if you will, over the past several years. And so now we count, instead of 15 counties, we are 117 municipalities. And when we're looking at resolutions, when we're looking at letters to the upper levels of government, we make sure to include all 117 of the municipalities in our region. So that's one way we're doing it, by constant communication. The conference is another avenue where we invite everyone from the entire region into the conference to have those discussions. And then by virtue of the caucus, when you're a warden, you are a mayor of one of those local municipalities. So even though you're there as a warden and you're sitting at the regional table, you still are bringing that perspective of a mayor at a local council. So we're hopeful that you're having all those hats on at the same time so that you can bring that perspective to the table. So that's where we engage the local municipalities the most. And I think there's room for improvement, and perhaps our strategic plan next year will add to that as well.
Any other questions for the delegation? Seeing none, can I get a motion, please, to receive for information? Councillor Howes, Councillor Pierce. Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Thanks again.
Thank you.
5.3, Travis is coming up to speak to us from the Brant Civic Accountability Association. And again, Travis, if you could just state your name and your organization for the clerk, and try to stay as close to 10 minutes as you can.
I'll do my best.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Bailey, members of council and county staff. My name is Travis Welch. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a founder and board member of the Brant Civic Accountability Association. I'm here tonight in support of a resolution later this evening requesting that further consideration of the proposed airport boundary land adjustment and MOU be deferred until after the October 2026 municipal election. This is not a debate about whether discussions between the city of Brantford and the county of Brant should continue. And this is not a debate about whether municipalities should work together to address future opportunities and challenges. The question before council tonight is much simpler. Why must this decision be advanced now. Over the past several months, residents have raised significant concerns regarding transparency, governance, servicing responsibilities, taxation, airport ownership, definitely future development, and the provincial facilitator process itself. Many of those concerns remain unanswered. On June 11th, residents attended the public open house in significant numbers by the City of Brantford. Residents have submitted questions, a plethora of questions, through the Let's Talk Brantford platform. Residents have written letters, spoken with elected officials, and participated in public discussions throughout both municipalities. One message has consistently emerged. Many residents want newly elected councils and mayors to participate in decisions of this magnitude. That is not an unreasonable request. Municipal elections are only months away. The province has confirmed to BCAA that any boundary adjustment would ultimately require ministerial approval, and because of the municipal election cycle, would not take effect until 2027 at the earliest. The City of Brantford has yet to hold its statutory public consultation meeting. Both municipalities will soon adjourn for the summer. And both municipalities are expected to enter lame duck status later in August, further raising the question of why a matter of this magnitude cannot be considered by newly elected councils only weeks later. The timing of the city's statutory public consultation meeting also raises additional concerns. The meeting is expected to occur in just a few weeks, at the beginning of July, when many families are focused on summer activities, children are out of school, and residents are preparing or already taking summer vacations. For a decision with potentially generational implications for municipal boundaries, governance, taxation, infrastructure obligations, airport ownership, and again, future development, many residents question whether the timing will maximize meaningful public consultation or inadvertently limit it this upcoming summer. If public consultation is intended to inform decision-making, then every reasonable effort should be made to ensure residents have a genuine opportunity to participate before decisions are advanced. Instead, many residents are left wondering why a matter of this significance is being pushed towards during the summer months and immediately before municipal election, rather than being considered by newly elected councils with a fresh democratic mandate from voters. So once again, why is the urgency? Why is the urgency to proceed with an MOU boundary adjustment when ultimately, as of August 1st, both sitting councils will be adjourned? There is another concern the council must seriously consider tonight. Many residents are no longer simply debating the merits of a boundary adjustment. They're questioning whether key decisions regarding the future use and development of the airport and surrounding lands may already be substantially advanced before public consultation, municipal review, and electoral input have been fully completed. The concern is not just about what is being proposed. The concern is about whether the outcome has effectively been determined before the public process has even concluded. Residents have watched the provincial facilitation appointment. They have watched decisions move forward behind closed doors. They have watched an accelerated timeline emerge during an active municipal election cycle. They have watched questions regarding governance, taxation, airport ownership, and future development go unanswered, and they have watched requests for transparency repeatedly met with reference to future consultation opportunities rather than direct answers. These concerns are further compounded by questionings surrounding the involvement of MPP Will Balma in this process. MPP Balma has publicly stated that he was involved in bringing forward a public provincial facilitation process. At the same time, questions continue to be raised regarding how that process originated, who requested it, what communications occurred between provincial and municipal officials, and the extent to which provincial involvement may have influenced the direction of timing of these discussions. Those questions are not going away. They will not go away. In fact, they continue to grow as FOI requests are processed and additional records become available. BCAA is not here tonight to draw conclusions before all facts are known. However, FOI requests continue to be processed and additional records are disclosed. We are confident that records and residents will soon have a much clearer understanding of how this process was originated, how it evolved, and the extent of the involvement of various municipal, provincial actors along the way. This is precisely why transparency, patience, and proper procedural fairness matter. Residents deserve transparency. Residents deserve answers. And residents deserve confidence that decisions regarding municipal boundaries, airport ownership, governance, and future development are being made through an open, accountable public process. That is why procedural fairness matters. Public consultation is not meaningful if residents are left with impressions that decisions have already substantially advanced before they're given an opportunity to participate. Consultation should help inform decisions. It should not merely validate decisions that residents believe may already be moving forward as a predetermined outcome. Whether that participation is ultimately correct or not, the perception itself is damaging to public conversation during an election municipal cycle. I also recognize that some members of council may be concerned that supporting a deferral could somehow place the county at odds with the province. Respectfully, that should not be a factor in your decision this evening. Your responsibility is to the residents of the County of Brant and to ensuring that decisions of this magnitude are made through a process that is fair, transparent, and commands public confidence. If this were truly a voluntary municipal process, as the province has repeatedly stated, then a municipal decision to defer consideration until after the municipal election genuinely should be respected. BCA will continue to closely monitor the province's actions and decisions regarding this matter. We will also continue to monitor the development-related decisions associated with the airport lands. We will continue to monitor the West Brant access route discussions and the relationship to the proposed boundary adjustment. And we will continue to pursue records through the FOI information requests on a provincial and a municipal level to ensure residents have access to the facts. What concerns many residents is when all these issues are viewed together, the provincial facilitation process, the accelerated timeline, the approaching election, the proposed boundary adjustment, and the future development of potential airport lands in the ongoing transportation planning discussion, the pieces do not fit the remaining part. I will conclude quickly by stating this. Democratic accountability matters, and then what significant questions remain unanswered, the right decisions is not to rush forward, but to ensure those questions are answered first. I respectfully ask Council to support a resolution to defer further consideration of the proposed MOU and boundary adjustment until after the 2026 municipal election. Thank you for your time in this consideration.
Thank you very much. Council, do you have any questions for the delegation? Councillor Haley.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you. I just, rather than questions, I have just a few reflections and comments. People were very frustrated at that open house. They wanted a public meeting, and they were very frustrated. And I sort of see Brant County as a municipality is that our residents are family. They're our family, and I think we owe them. If Brantford won't do the proper consultation, we owe them that consultation. And we also say that we really protect farmland and natural heritage, and this area is full of farmland and natural heritage. So I just, there's key people, I think they're in the audience, or if not, they'll be watching later, but Kelly Streit's farm and Roger Paquette, Devon Acres, the Parsons, the Jennings Road people, the Oak Hill Road people, Pottriff Road, Robinson Road, Robinson Lane, Kirby Crescent, all of those people want better consultation. So I appreciate your presentation tonight, and yeah, it's not good enough for them. What we're doing is not good enough.
Anyone else? Questions, concerns for the delegation? Seeing none, need a motion to receive as information if that's what you want. Councillor Howes, Councillor Oakley, any other questions? We're going to receive the presentation of the delegation for information. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Travis. Number 6 on the agenda is the adoption of the minutes from the previous meetings, noting there's 4 different sets of minutes, May the 26th, May the 26th, June 2nd, and June 4th. Councillor Kyle, you have that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Coleman that the following minutes be approved. County of Brant Council minutes from May 26, 2026. County of Brant Special Council minutes of May 26, 2026. County of Brant Special Council minutes of June 2nd, 2026. And the County of Brant Special Council minutes of June 4th, 2026.
Does anyone have any questions to any of those sets of minutes? Seeing none, we'll call the vote to receive all 4 sets of minutes. All those in favor? Opposed? Business arising from any of those minutes? Seeing none, we'll go to number 8 on the agenda, which is consent items to be approved. We don't have any, which will take us to 8.2, which is consent items to be received, and we have 18 of them, I believe. 18 of them. Does anyone want anything pulled for clarification or discussion? Councillor Bell, you're first.
8.2.1, please, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Miller?
Number 8 and number 16.
8 and 16. Anybody else? Councillor Haley? Is there anyone else? I'll come back to you, Councillor Haley. Anyone else have anything you want pulled? No, I'm back to you already, Councillor Haley. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the vote on 8.2.4, 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.9, 0.10, 0.11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, and 18 to receive. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We're going to go back. We're going to talk about 8.2.1.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a question probably for Heather Mifflin or Heather Bailey. It's a very good analysis, and I appreciate it. It does relate to the year ending December the 31st. We're in the process of putting an application in to get a grant funding, which would in turn lead to potentially lower DCs. Am I correct in thinking that the numbers on this chart are unaffected by that?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bell, that is correct. That does not affect this report. This is what was in place at December 31st, 2025.
So where we have committed capital commitment for 41,603,000, that is unaffected by the grant application should we be successful.
I'm going to let Heather Mifflin take that.
Through the mayor, the committed amount may change depending on what the actual, if we were successful on the application that was submitted.
So could you explain that? Now I'm lost. I thought this was, we have commitments already, which we're assuming we will get DCs to partially pay for.
Correct.
Are you telling me now that if the grant that we've applied for the water treatment plant, or whatever we've applied for, if we're successful, it's going to affect those projects already with assumptions that we're going to pay for them through DCs?
Through the mayor, the development charge reduction program, the funding for it, the intention of that grant is to replace the DC funding. So the grant would be replacing the DC commitment for those. The projects would still be proceeding, it just wouldn't be DC funding. It would be with the grant funding instead.
And do you have a sense of how much that impact would be on this figure of 41.6 million?
On the 41, no, sorry, I can't break it down to that exact amount.
Yeah, and to be clear, if we don't get DCs to fund that 41.6 million, or whatever part of it was going to fund it, the balance would come from tax levy.
Through the mayor, no, the DC commitment will come from development charges. It'll either be debt to be repaid by DCs or development charges.
Okay, I think I understand. Thank you.
Okay, the next one is 8.2.2, and that was Councillor Miller, was it? Councillor Haley, sorry. Who wanted me to pull 8.2.2? Nobody? Okay. 8.2.3? No, okay. 8.2.4, which is the Brant County Library Board special meeting minutes. Come on, people. You told me to pull things, and I've got them here. 8.2.8, South Central Ontario Regional Economic, Councillor Miller.
Go. I was looking at the minutes, and I just wanted to confirm that there are just 7 members of the board. Is that correct?
Yes, I do believe that is correct.
Okay. And I understand, okay, so Middlesex is gone. And my understanding is Oxford and Norfolk are also going to withdraw. Do we know this?
We don't know yet what they're doing. Everything's up in the air right now. Their restructuring of the entire organization is up in the air right now. We're looking for a new home, and we don't know what the members are going to do yet, so.
Okay, fair enough. I'm just wondering, I mean, there was a time SCORE was a going concern. You know, we had the mayor and 1 councillor from each of the 5 counties represent. We had the Sand Plains that was reported to the board. There was a lot of money involved at one time. And I'm even looking at the agenda, which looked kind of light. And I'm just thinking, I know we talked about it before, but I'm just thinking if maybe SCORE hasn't run its course, and we wouldn't be better putting our efforts behind WOW-C, right? It's just a thought, but like I say, from what I see, maybe it's getting that time, so just wanted to confirm the 7
I'll speak to it, and Councillor Kyle can also speak to it. That did come up at the meeting. Maybe it has run its course. There's a lot of people that think it has. There's a lot of people that think it hasn't. But I think at the very least, it'll be restructured within WOW-C or something. We do still see the benefit of the organization. But it's up in the air right now. So if the agenda looked a little light, it was a little light, because the things that we spoke about were things just to keep us going, and are we going to stay going, and the value in the organization. So I think the next agenda you'll see on the next report will tell you the tale of what's going to happen to SCORE. Is that good? Yeah, okay. Takes us now to 8.2.16. Who wanted me to pull that?
That's mine, the 16. And it was a concern from the town of Iroquois Falls regarding firefighters and their certification requirements, and they have to be obtained by July 1st, 2026. For some reason, and I don't know much about Iroquois Falls, but they seem to think it was a concern. So I wanted to ask through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe to Cindy, do our firefighters, have they obtained the necessary certifications that they have? Is there any issues in our municipality?
Cindy?
Through the mayor to council. So we are in good shape with this. We've been working with the firefighters over the last couple of years and offering lots of opportunities to get the certifications. We have approximately 15 who will not have the full certifications by July 1st. So we're working on some plans on allowing them to continue and continuing to offer support to obtain the certifications. There could be some who have no interest in it, and if that's the case, at some point we'll probably have no other option but to move on. But we are actively working through that right now.
Okay, just a follow-up question. It says they're supposed to be obtained by July 1st. Is there a cutoff date by the province, or are we gonna, you talked maybe we put one in ourselves, so do they have to have it by a certain date?
Through the mayor to council, so they do have to have the certifications by July 1st in order to be active on the fire grounds. And if we have firefighters who don't have the certification, we won't be able to have them continue in that way, but they could continue to participate in training as well as association activities until such time they obtain the certifications. So we're looking at right now probably allowing a 1-year grace period within the service to provide more support and opportunities to obtain the required certification and get them back on active.
Yeah, understood. Thank you very much.
Yep. We're going to go back now to 8.2.12. Councillor Haley.
Thank you. I wondered, I really support this idea. I don't know if it's an issue in Brant County about meeting the deadline for the heritage. So I liked their suggestion. Can we support it? That was my question. And do we need that deadline as well?
So Howes, do you have any idea about the deadline, whether we can meet it or whether we've even been told there is one?
We are aware that there is a deadline, through you, Mr. Mayor. We are aware that there is a deadline, and we remain optimistic that our registry is complete. We do have a Heritage Advisory Committee meeting on Thursday, and I can share your concern with the committee at that time.
Thanks, Councillor Howes.
Thank you.
And Councillor Haley, you also had 8.2.13.
Yeah, this is from Prince Edward County, and they were basically saying that they would like the right to determine their own governance, their own composition, and that the regional chairs should be directly elected by the people. And I thought we should support this, and I don't know if we ever, when they send these around, do we then extend a letter of support back to them, or what do we do?
I could ask Cindy Stevenson again. It's not the same system that we're on, but I can ask Cindy what she thinks about sending a letter just to support their letter. Yeah, so we could do that if that's council's direction.
Oh,
Do you want to make a motion to send a letter?
okay. I make a motion that we support the letter from Prince Edward County.
Seeking a seconder. Councillor Oakley. Any other discussion? Councillor Haley, do you want the letter sent just to them, or do you want anyone copied on it?
Let me just see let's see who they copied. I think if we send it back to them,
Okay. Okay, so we're just going to send it back to them, to municipality. It has a seconder. We're going to call the vote. All those in favor to do a letter of support. Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Councillor Haley. Okay, so I need someone to move the ones that we haven't already talked about. Councillor Howes, Councillor Oakley, all those in favor? They've all. Committee reports 9.1, Administration and Operations Committee report. That's Councillor Pierce.
It is, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Miller, that the Administration and Operations Committee report minutes of June 16th, 2026 be approved, noting there are 10 recommendations.
Questions to Councillor Pierce on his report. Councillor Oakley?
Through Mr. Mayor, not a question, but a comment, just as I wasn't able to make the meeting since I have a standing commitment for admin and ops. I just wanted to state my appreciations to staff on the Downtown Paris report and the support that we're putting out there. I think it's a topic that's really relevant for a lot of folks right now, a lot of businesses, and I think that that report was very important. So I appreciate the effort that went into it.
Thanks, Councillor Oakley. Anyone else have anything? Councillor Miller?
Well, just thank Councillor House for sharing some of the costs associated with advertising. That's item 10. That's for the BIA to undertake a media campaign. So 30,000, I guess it adds up pretty quick. So I just want to say I appreciate him sharing that.
Thanks, Councillor Howes. Anyone else have anything for Councillor Pierce on his report before we receive it? Seeing none, call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Number 10.1, which is the Sport Complex, Brant Sports Complex expansion update, and that is Phil. You're here just for questions. Anyone have any questions on the expansion? Councillor Oakley, you're first.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to staff. So I'm just curious in sort of the delegated authority that you're asking for here.
Councillor Oakley, can I just cut you off? I need to get it on the floor first. I'm sorry. Councillor Coleman and Councillor Oakley, continue speaking to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm just curious, in terms of the delegated authority being asked for here, we're applying for the 8.8 million that makes up the shortfall that's not budgeted. In terms of that authority, are you looking for, if the province comes back and says, here's your 8.8, the delegated authority says we go ahead with that, and if it comes back 8.7, the answer is no, or is there, do we need to outline a threshold here in terms of, if the province come back and says, we only got 2 million for you, does the CAO still have the delegated authority?
So through the chair, the idea is to give the delegated authority to the CAO, and then we would, we've already run some analyses, but the hopes are we're going to get the whole 8.8. But anything that we move forward with would have to work within a long-term financial plan and the analysis that's been done.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so yes, it's got to come back at the 8.8, or the delegated authority is that the CAO has the mandate to make that decision depending on what comes back?
Through the mayor, it would be the CAO would have the authority to make the decision and report back to council, not necessarily the full 8.8.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Bell?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Phil. Can you remind us what the funding model is for this project?
So right now, the funding model is $5 million grant funding, $1.15 million in fundraising target through the community, $1.5 million in reserves, $7.7 million in DC reserves, 10.9 million in debt repaid by DCs, almost 2 million in debt repaid by the tax levy, for a total of 28.3 million. That was the last time we were here. The new total now is $30.9 million.
So out of that, could you just pick out what the tax levy impact would be?
Yes, so based on the full 8.8 grant funding, you would have grant funding of 8.8. We've upped the community fundraising to 2 million. The reserves 1.5, DC reserve 7.7. Debt repaid by DCs just at 10 million, and debt repaid by the tax levy $928,000 for a grand total of $30.94 million.
So less than $1 million effectively would go on the tax levy.
Through the mayor, that's correct.
And could you then say whether, again, the same question I asked Heather Mifflin a little while ago, if we're successful in the grant funding for this current round that the federal and provincial government are bringing forward for infrastructure projects, would this affect the numbers that you've just quoted to me on DCs and debt to be repaid by DCs?
Through the mayor, so depending on the amount of grant funding we received, there would be adjustments to the debt repaid by DCs and the debt repaid by the tax levy. And so we've ran a number of analyses.
So if we're very successful, what would the impact be?
I think Heather Boyd wants to speak to this too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Through the mayor, the application we made under the DCRP was for utility, water, and wastewater services, so it would have no impact on this project specifically.
But we will be, sorry, through the mayor, we will be taking in lower DCs. So there is a phasing if impact, if nothing else.
Those will be taken from the utility portion of the DCs. So it doesn't impact any non-service DCs.
So I'm
This project is a county-wide project, and so it will not be impacted by any approval or whatever happens with the DCRP application.
So if we're successful, we're going to bring our DCs down.
Yeah.
So our income will reduce from that.
But the wastewater and water income will be reduced from the DCs.
Well, sorry, I think that then I'm definitely not understanding it. I think when we talked about it last week, I thought we had an impact if we were successful. Yes, we would not have to draw on the rate supported element of our funding, but I think I recall that the tax levy funding would be required to be increased for the whole program, not just for any one individual project.
Yeah, no, the way the funding, the DCRP works is, as Heather explained, it's funding the residential development charges portion of a number of projects, but we have, because we are only looking at water and wastewater, when I first put forward, we had some roads projects and stuff that would have had a small tax levy impact, but we took those out of the application. So it's just water and wastewater that are impacted in the application we submitted.
Okay, well, I'm encouraged that we only have to provide $1 million from the tax levy for this project. That would be very good.
Any other questions? I hope that we can support this. It would be terrible if we were in lame duck situation and our CEO couldn't react for us or accept or negotiate for us. So I'm hoping council sees the value in this. Anyway, if there's nothing else to be said, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thanks, Phil. 10.2 Downtown Master Plan Process, the update with Adam. Oh, and Haley too. Now, I want to get it on the floor so we can talk about it first. Councillor Coleman and Councillor Pierce, whenever you're ready. Who's controlling that screen? Yeah? Okay.
Okay, good evening, Mayor and members of council. Thank you for having us here tonight. We're excited to bring forward the Downtown Paris Master Plan Progress Update and Next Steps document. Before we get into any questions about the report and the associated attachment, we just wanted to provide a little bit of background and contextual information to guide our conversation today. I know there's a pretty full agenda, so I promise to keep things brief. To start, we wanted to just focus on kind of where we are in the process. As you know, there's been a lot of work happening within downtown Paris. And so it's helpful to kind of step back and look at how all of these pieces are interconnected and how everything works together. So back in 2019, the Downtown Paris Master Plan was approved by Council. This document was developed through extensive community engagement and really sets the overarching vision for what we hope to see in downtown Paris in terms of the public realm and streetscape design. And so since that plan was approved back in 2019, staff have been diligently working on implementing the vision. So that involves looking at ways to optimize the use of land within the core, advancing zoning and land use planning efforts, looking at the design for the first 2 phases of work and advancing where we need to go from here. And that's where that progress update and next step resource really fits in. And as you'll see in the ACT section, there's still a lot more work to implement the vision of the master plan, and those next steps will continue to be advanced moving forward. And so what can folks expect to see in the progress update? The information in that update is really divided into 3 core sections. The first is an overview of the work that's been completed to date in downtown Paris, and it talks about some of the changes that have been made from the original concept. The second piece is it includes some streetscape designs for the remaining 3 phases, so William Street, Broadway, and Mechanic Street. I will caution and say the renderings that are incorporated within the progress update are still based on the 60% design stage, so there's opportunities for changes and tweaks and things moving forward. And then the third piece is looking at outside of the streetscape and the public realm itself, what are some of the other kind of complementary pieces that support an economically vibrant, historic, and inclusive downtown. And so it looks at things like fostering accessibility and reducing barriers, ways that we can support downtown operations and activation, recognizing balanced residential and commercial growth and how that fits into the vision for downtown Paris. And then it also focuses on everybody's favorite thing, parking, and looking at infrastructure and operation updates that we could see moving forward. So why are we completing this update now? As I mentioned earlier, we're nearing the end of the initial phases of construction. And so with that, we have a lot of lessons learned that we can take stock of to implement moving forward. We also have more detailed design information, updated technical studies, and we've collected a lot of community feedback along the way that can help feed into future work and frame future things happening in downtown Paris. We also recognize that, as shown on the second slide there's a lot of work happening in downtown Paris. And so we hope that this resource will help to provide clarity to council and the community on where we are and where we need to go moving forward, and be a key informational resource to help guide future engagement efforts as well. And so finally, I'd be remiss not to dive a little bit into what's coming next. We do have a lot of ongoing opportunities for community engagement and communication moving forward. We'll be talking about kind of land use planning decisions and some recommendations coming forward to council in July. We'll continue to move forward with detailed streetscape designs and planning for and advancing construction in a phased approach, looking at opportunities to explore and operationalize some improvements to our parking infrastructure and the parking program, and also advancing a traffic impact study as well. So lots of opportunities for community engagement and information sharing as we continue to advance through all of these phases. And so with that, Adam and I are both here to answer any questions that folks have about the report. And we look forward to continuing to support the implementation of the Downtown Paris Master Plan vision moving forward.
Thank you for your report. Councillor Hauser first.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yeah, I do have 2 or 3 questions for Haley and Adam. First, It's great to see that the CIP program is going to be used for beautification of downtown Paris. That's already started. And good to see that it's potentially going to be usable for accessibility ramps. Recognizing that in addition to the BIA organization, there are other independent efforts from downtown merchants to add to the beauty of our downtown. How do we ensure that those efforts are complementary to each other and to our downtown Paris master plan investment in both design and streetscaping?
Through the mayor to Councillor House, yes, so the downtown CIP is really a great resource to help incentivize businesses and property owners to beautify their businesses, to support kind of facade updates and things like that. And so through the downtown CIP, projects that are receiving funding must adhere to prescribed design guidelines. So those design guidelines include things like requirements for facade composition, window design, door design, colors that can be used. And so the intention is, with those design guidelines in place, it's helping to create kind of this complementary, cohesive vision for downtown Paris that supports that historic look, feel, and function.
Okay, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. If I can continue on, Mr. Mayor, through you. Page 14 of the update report, which is page 306 of our council package, notes that there was an original plan to use a celebratory hardscape to tell the story of the mill race route. And I remember when this was first discussed a few years ago, and I was thrilled to hear that that story was going to be told. I'm understanding from reading this report that that's paused, maybe temporarily. I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, but more importantly, I'm wondering if you can tell me the process for us to revisit the subject of heritage storytelling in downtown Paris in general. In one of our recent meetings, one of my fellow council members said, "Oh, you should go to Elora and see how their 4-story buildings look, how their 7-story condos along the river look." And my wife and I went and drove with our dog to Elora and walked around in the rain and looked at all those things. But I also noticed they do a great job on heritage storytelling. There's plaques mounted in the gardens talking about the history of this street. So I'm wondering if you can help me understand if there's an opportunity still for us to embrace telling the great history of not just the downtown of Paris, but it's the one under construction, but all of our downtowns. And I'm also wondering if you might attend a future Heritage Advisory Committee meeting to discuss this element further.
Yeah, so through the mayor to Councillor House, yes, so the renderings that are incorporated within the progress update, I will say they're at the 60% design stage. So there's still opportunities to make tweaks and changes as needed, as budget permits, to allow some of those things like the celebratory hardscape or other kind of inclusions within that. As we continue to advance through detailed design, I think there's a real opportunity to involve the community and to prioritize opportunities for historical storytelling. And so I'd be definitely interested in attending a future meeting with the Heritage Committee to learn more about the stories that we want to tell and explore opportunities to incorporate that as part of the downtown master plan implementation, recognizing that, recognizing this heritage kind of historic component of downtown is a key part of the downtown master plan.
No, thank you. I will, through the mayor, we do have a meeting on Thursday, and I'll be pleased to share. You don't have to come to that one, but I'll be pleased to share with them that in a future meeting, we can embark on that conversation a little further. My last question, Mr. Mayor, through you, is at the end of section 2, which is page 316 of our package, the report discusses future parking plans and what I believe is the first reference to potential paid parking and permit models in downtown Paris, recognizing that it's at early discussion stages, and right in the report it talks about community engagement process. Can you please provide some more details on the likely timing of those discussions, and before our local residents get too concerned? These are early days of discussions, and there's lots of different ways we can approach this, but I was wondering if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yes, so through the mayor to Councillor Howes, the intention behind kind of incorporating some of that language in the report is just, we recognize that infrastructure when it comes to parking is one piece of the puzzle, but the operations and the program side of things is another conversation that we'll have to have in the future. So we anticipate these conversations kind of following a phased approach, recognizing there's a lot of different components of parking that we want to have conversations about. In terms of timing, it would likely occur kind of start mid to late 2027 and lead into 2028. And depending on what we hear from the community in terms of the models and things that they want us to explore, council would then we bring forward recommendations. And then if council approves, we would likely move forward with any sort of new thing after construction has completed.
Okay, thank you.
More questions? Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Haley. Thank you for the report. Very, very helpful. You say you're at the 60% design stage for the remaining elements of downtown. When will we be at the 100% design stage?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bell, that's a great question for Dave.
So through the mayor to Councillor Bell, we're progressing the design currently throughout the year. But we are having discussions about timelines for future works in the upcoming years due to some of these changes, some of the planning permitting downtown. So we had a discussion last week about timelines and when we might see the next phase of the downtown improvements, but there's more to come on that in the future.
The undefined future.
Yeah. So the detailed design we're targeting, it'd be early next year. But there are some unknowns that we're working through on specifically Broadway and Mechanic related to hydro servicing. So we just want to make sure we get that right before we proceed.
Yeah, so this year we decided not to do Mechanic Street. Is there any indication that we will do Mechanic Street next year?
The entirety of it, no. We were looking at potentially taking a pause on Mechanic Street next year, giving the downtown a break. Having said that, we need to look at the other projects. Closing Paris is unique. If you close one way in or out of town, it limits the ability for us to do work on Willow Street or Grand River Street South in the future. So we're kind of weighing those options and doing that work actually right now in preparation for the budget this year.
Okay, thank you. This streetscape renderings that you've got in the report are very nice, like to see them. The renderings for Broadway, I'm just going to make a suggestion for improvement and to catch up with the conversations we've had in the planning part of our council. We don't show the potential mixed-use development on the west side of Broadway, and we don't show the potential parking garage next to Wincy Mill, which you refer to in the report. Is it possible just to tune up those renderings?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bell, yes, so we made the decision to leave some of those things off for now, recognizing zoning is still coming forward for council's review and approval next month, so it's premature to have some of those things kind of included within the renderings. That being said, should council wish to go forward, we'd be happy to update those renderings with more information.
Okay, thank you. Final comment. Changes to parking. I get a lot of people who would like to see more accessible parking closer to Grand River Street North, and people often point me to the parking just behind the BMO Bank. I didn't see that specifically referred to in your report. Could I ask that that's taken into consideration?
Through the mayor to Councillor Bell, yes, we're happy to take that into consideration.
Okay. And if we don't actually own that, as Councillor Pearce is pointing out to me, then could we make more accessible parking spaces closer to the Grand River Street North?
Yes, through the mayor to Councillor Bell, as part of kind of the overarching conversation with regards to parking, we have had conversations about improvements to things like the lot behind council chambers, and so those types of conversations can be incorporated into that decision-making process.
Any other questions? Councillor McAlpine.
I'm very concerned about this report. I have strong reservations about parking structures as suggested. When it's been done in the past, such places as Brantford downtown, Kitchener downtown, Hamilton downtown, hasn't had beneficial effects that would be appreciated. And I'm concerned that it would have a negative impact on the community. And would you like to comment on that?
I'll take that. Through your worship to Councillor McAlpine. We hear those concerns. I don't envision that the situation in downtown Paris would be similar to the situation in downtown Brantford or downtown Hamilton. I think it's a situation where we have a limited amount of geography, and we currently have a significant amount of surface parking lot. The strategy over the past 50 years has been to continue to acquire property, knock it down, make it parking lot, and we've seen that even since the master plan was approved. So any potential parking structure would have quite a bit of significant thought, considering the fact that it's in downtown Paris being a small community to put a parking structure in, but I think that's the reality of the situation. We have a limited geographic footprint. We are trying to support our existing commercial operations downtown and trying to balance those as it sort of goes through the next transitional phase from being, effectively the industrial heart of the town to being the commercial heart of the town to now being a mix of a little bit of everything. So, try to put some of those concerns to bed that, any sort of potential parking structure would be thoughtfully designed and thought visually attractive. Part of the reason too, I was going to say is we don't want to presuppose things with these renderings, because if decisions are made to not proceed with that, then it's difficult to suggest that's what it is or to presuppose a decision. But at the same time too, I mean, we can certainly come back with what these types of things are going to look for and how they're going to complement and enhance downtown Paris, not detract from it.
The other problem with them, though, too, is they're extremely expensive to maintain and very costly. And I would think that it would be, we're having a lot of other commercial areas around the town being developed in the future. And I would think that it would be a distraction for people and ease of use for people coming downtown to have to go all the way over behind the Winty Mills. So something that I don't personally support. And I think that, especially as been alluded to earlier, right now, I think we need to pause some of this growth in the downtown in particular so that businesses have time, and more than a year, before we start going down this path. So I really have strong reservations about this. So.
Yeah, through your worship. It's certainly something we've seen. But at the same time, I think we've decided that if we have a parking needs analysis, even with no residential growth, with nothing, we're still going to see a deficiency for the future. I think one of the criticisms we tend to get is that, you didn't plan for this. Well, this is the discussion we're having, to plan for this. If we don't want it and we're not going to do it, there are past decisions that have happened where we go, oh, geez, I really wish we would have done that. If this is a situation where we're already seeing deficiencies in parking at peak periods, that's going to continue, and that's going to potentially have, sort of economic harm to the downtown if we don't plan for this. So it's a situation where we're having the conversations, we're evaluating what should or should not happen, how it's going to happen, and it's a situation where if we don't plan for it, we won't do it, and therefore we could end up worse off than we currently are. And again, yes, we appreciate there needs to be a little bit of a pause on construction. We've discussed that, but going forward, we have to decide some measure of direction on that.
So currently, we're about 80% usage in the parking lots. And from my, and that's the average. And my understanding that that is actually about the optimal level of usage you want for a parking area. So that we're probably at the optimal amount for the area that we're supporting. So I would like to keep that into consideration too.
Through your worship, I would say that that's at the current time. So if we don't plan, 10, 20, 25 years in the future, could be a completely different situation. I don't believe anyone would envision that downtown Paris looks like it does today, going back to 2001. So anyways.
Allison?
Thank you, through your worship, to council. Absolutely hear that feedback. And when there's decisions to be made, I think the point is that we want to make sure that council and the public understand what go hand in hand. So if we were to add more residential downtown, which has been the direction in the past, then that not only takes away surface parking, but creates more of a deficit. So, any direction, obviously, is council's, but there are things that go hand in hand that shouldn't be considered in isolation. And the idea, if that were to be the direction we were to go, the idea was that residential parking would be directed there. Staff parking would be directed there. The idea being we want to keep as much of this free surface parking close to the main street available for people who are shopping and visiting downtown. It should be people who are staying here either for the whole day or longer if they were to live here. That should be what would be directed to a permanent parking structure. So again, just wanted to talk a little bit about the dependencies between a lot of these uses that we're talking about.
Councillor Oakley.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to say that I'm supportive of the direction that is within this master plan. I think it's important to highlight as well that it's been an issue for years in downtown Paris with, I've talked to many of the business owners over my time as liaison of the BIA, which I was up until earlier this year. Paris is highly seasonal as it currently sits with the businesses downtown. And every year some businesses don't make it through that off season. So I think it's important to have a critical mass of residential in the downtown, thus a critical mass of parking in the downtown. And there's really two options for a downtown core. Either you grow, change, adapt, and thrive, or you stagnate, decline, and die. So there's a couple of options there, and I'd rather go with the former.
Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I got to switch gears a little bit. In regards to the current work going on, I got a call from a business out in Ward 4. They're a manufacturer. They make benches and garbage bins and things of that nature, and they can customize it. We could put the Simply Grand and the little, looks like a lightning bolt, but it's not on it. Anyways, they can do a lot of things, and they do a lot of work. He listed off all the municipalities they do work for. And the reason he called was he was a little frustrated because he wasn't able to bid on that component of the contract for what's going on now. And I did talk to Laura Lynn about that, and I guess it was the contractor above that was doing the subcontracting. And long story short, he couldn't bid on it, and he was very frustrated. But the rules have changed a little bit in the province as far as, how you can, there's more of a focus, right, on buying locally, buying provincially. So I'm just wondering if in that part of it, we could maybe give a little more focus to local companies and local businesses for some of this. Even if you just said yes, that'd be great.
Through the mayor to the councillor, I think it's something we could definitely consider. I will say that the community has been involved throughout the selection of the streetscape the furniture that's been incorporated, so the benches, lighting, waste receptacles, those types of things. So I think if we were proposing any sort of changes to the design of the street furniture moving forward, that would be something we would want to flag with the community and flag with council as well.
Okay, and that's just an example. There may be other things where, you know, like I say, we could get more local businesses involved. And I just hope it's something I'd like to see staff a little bit, be more receptive to, that's all. So leave it at that, thank you.
Any other comments about the report? I just want to make a comment on what Councillor McAlpine said. I'm not a big fan either of parking structures, but the three examples that Councillor McAlpine gave, Hamilton, Kitchener, and what was the other one? Brantford, all failed due to the failure of Eaton's. There was 2 Eaton centers and obviously 1 Jackson Square, and they were full when there was a working mall at all 3 of those cities. I never pictured our parking structure to be anything like those, but they did have a use when everything was good. Being an employee of Eaton's at the time, I mean, that's where we all parked, and it was full. Then when everything sort of fell apart, then the parking structures were deserted and dangerous and all kinds of other things. So I just, to be fair to a parking structure, I don't think those examples are very good just because they failed because of a business failing and a mall failing. So I don't know that we were ever going to be that big. So I do support the report and the way forward, because again, to be caught somewhere and not be ready for the growth. I mean, the growth is coming. We've planned in the last 8 years that I've been the mayor, we've proven that not everything is, they're not our decisions, you know. So there are other decisions coming up that aren't going to be our decisions either, but they're going to happen. So we have to be ready for them. And that does come with people living downtown Paris. I mean, it's what we need is people in grocery stores and things like that. And they need a place to park. So with that being said, we have it on the floor. We have a mover. Is there any other questions to receiving the report? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? Opposed? Noted and carried. Thank you. Takes us to communications, which we don't have any. We have resolutions. 12.1, a proclamation request for the Ontario Disability Employment Net. I'm sorry? You have a question about what? Put on your microphone, I can't hear you.
I have a question from a resident. He thought that his letter would appear in communications, but he doesn't see it. It's a letter from Paul Singh that was sent on Friday.
We don't have.
And so he didn't see it in the package.
So this would have already been published then?
Yeah, he submitted it Friday, and he wondered whether or not it would show up in communications.
It didn't.
So through the mayor, we publish our agendas on Friday, so if it was received on Friday, it wouldn't be included.
And it wouldn't be in the addendum, eh? I have it here, but, so maybe for the next cycle then. He said if he missed it, then maybe for the next cycle. Okay.
Okay. So you can give that copy though to the clerk, and not now, but, and then we can get it distributed to everyone on council. Okay, resolutions. Proclamation request to Ontario Disability Employment Network. Can I get a mover? Councillor Pierce and Councillor Oakley. Anyone opposed? All those in favor? Thank you. 12.2 proclamation request. This is for the Afro event over at the Lions Park. Get it on the floor. Councillor Haley, Councillor Oakley. Any problems with that festival? We've had it, it'll be the third annual. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Proclamation request. This is for the Ontario Riverside runway for the lighting of the dam. Can I get it on the floor, please? Councillor Kyle, seconder. Councillor Haley. Anyone opposed to lighting up the dam? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 12.4, proposed municipal boundary adjustment. Councillor Kyle. And I need a seconder for Councillor Kyle, please, to get on the floor. Councillor Bell, Councillor Kyle.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of comments. First, I want to thank our delegation from earlier today. He really touched on some of the comments that I want to make tonight. So when I brought forward this notice of motion, I did so because I believed that it was important to formally acknowledge the concerns many residents had raised about the process. And I do continue to believe those concerns are legitimate and they deserve to be raised, and I certainly don't regret putting forward this resolution. The purpose of the motion, though, was to ensure those concerns were brought forward and discussed publicly, and I do believe that that objective has been achieved, even seeing so again tonight. So my understanding is that we already have folks who are preparing to participate in the upcoming statutory public meeting. So as those residents are now preparing to participate, I believe it's important that we preserve every opportunity for them to be heard as this process continues. So if the motion was to pass tonight and no response was received from the province before the statutory timeline takes effect, there would be a risk that that opportunity for those folks to speak and to be heard would be lost. The county has advocated vigorously and through the good work of our CAO and the negotiation team on behalf of our residents throughout the process, and that advocacy will absolutely continue. So for these reasons, I would actually like to withdraw the motion for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. It is on the floor. It hasn't got a seconder. She's going to not let it stand. Councillor Bell? Yeah, it is seconded. I'm sorry. Is there any discussion on what's just happened? Councillor Haley?
Yes, I don't quite understand it. I just need you to explain more clearly why you're withdrawing the motion.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. So if we were to pass our motion asking for a deferral tonight, if we run out of time for the province to actually send us a response, then the statutory public meeting could be canceled, which would then effectively remove that opportunity for the folks to speak who would like to speak. So perhaps our CAO might be able to give a little bit more information on that.
Allison?
Through the mayor to council, I can speak to the statutory public meeting. So notices would go out. There has to be a timeline. Notices would go out this week for that meeting. If this process were to be put on hold, that statutory public meeting would in effect be canceled.
Councillor Haley?
Yes, through you. So if we had the vote here tonight and if we asked for more time, could the statutory public meeting not be moved further? It is on a holiday, or it's right after holiday weekend, the meeting. Is there any chance, both city and county are thinking of holding it on a holiday, the Monday after the holiday weekend, which is really bad timing for the public. Could we not negotiate a bit more time, which is what the community is asking for?
Through your worship to council, if that's the direction of council, I could certainly ask, but I don't know that the city would agree to that. July is the month that they typically break. So this would be a special council meeting for them, just having in the month. So I can't speak to what they would decide to that. We certainly could ask for that time. You mean for it to be held later in the month?
Yeah, through you, the public didn't get a public meeting and they need more information. They're very frustrated by the open house. And so I liked the motion that Councillor Kyle put forward. I would like to support it in that it's saying the residents have not had enough time to fully understand the proposal, to ask questions and to provide meaningful impact. I think you're right on the mark there when you make that statement. And basically, I support this draft motion because it gives them a bit more time. It's more democratic.
May I just have a point of order, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, yeah.
if the motion is withdrawn, we're not supposed to be talking about it.
No, that's right.
So if the motion is withdrawn, then it's withdrawn. So
Move on.
Councillor Haley is discussing the motion, so that shouldn't be allowed.
With respect, Mr. Mayor, I haven't actually, as a seconder, I haven't actually said I support the withdrawal. I don't know whether I need to. Robert, you can perhaps help me there.
I don't think you need to.
I thought, could I clarify that?
Traditionally,
Comment to Councillor Bell. If she's withdrawn her motion, then it doesn't go any further. There is no motion. It doesn't need a seconder if there is no motion.
Typically, we ask the seconder if the seconder agrees to such things.
Okay, Councillor Bell, just to make you, I don't think that's right, but.
Well,
if
I'm
you-
just asking for clarification from the clerk.
Okay.
Through your worship, I believe that more so applies to if there are amendments to the motion. A withdrawal is a little different.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that means it's finished. We're not going to discuss it anymore. Councillor Haley?
I don't discuss the motion. Can I discuss my reaction to it being
No,
canceled?
No,
Okay.
it's done. It's done. So I think with that being said, Councillor Kyle was very clear on why she pulled the motion. She doesn't feel right about letting it stand. We're not even going to call the vote. We're going to move on to 12.5, which is Councillor Oakley, and we're looking for a seconder. Councillor House, Councillor Oakley, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, if it's all right, since it's in front of everybody, I'll read the actionable clauses, if that works, for time's sake. Looking around the room. Read the whole thing? Okay. So, yeah, so the motion's in front of us here. So we discussed this last month at, there was a communication that we got with this motion attached, obviously relevant to the particular municipality. But I think, you know, this council's talked about it in the past. I think some of the conversations this evening, delegation certainly hinted towards it in terms of the importance of public trust, democratic accountability, and the importance that sort of that freedom of information plays in that in holding all of us politicians accountable to the public. So the municipality that brought this forward initially, and there's been a number of other similar motions, the province recently has made changes so that the premier and the ministers are no longer applicable to the Freedom of Information Act. And I think it's important for us as other democratic actors, elected officials, to speak out and say that, you know, I think it is appropriate that all elected officials, the premier and his cabinet included, should be able to be held accountable, or at least be made transparent through this process. So I think it's important that we circulate this to the relevant ministers, the premier, and our MPPs.
Does anyone need Lucas to read the entire thing? It's in front of you. It's got a seconder. All those in favor of support? Opposed? Carried. Other business? Councillor Miller, you had something?
Yeah, I do. I got a call from residents. They're doing some work to a public park, Brant County-owned park. And he wasn't aware of it until somebody who was actually doing the work approached him and said, yeah, they're gonna be doing some work in a week or so. So I thought that was kind of odd. So I did ask around, and some of the neighbors knew, some didn't. So certainly not opposed to work going on in parks, but I would like to know what the process is for alerting maybe neighbors of parks that work's going on. I did learn that this park, the plans for the park were on Engaged Brant for about a year and a half before. And I'm just wondering if there's other processes that we can educate the public when there's this kind of changes going on to our public parks.
Phil, is that you?
So through the chair, we, you know, we are using a number of different methods to engage with the community, and we can always look at alternate methods, and we can work with our communications team to look at some new ideas. But I think It's a bit of a balanced approach between the scale of the project and the implications to the community. So, yeah, I would say we're always open to new ideas, for sure. And we're always trying to reach out. And in some cases, we get really lucky with our consultation, and in some cases, not so much. So it is a bit hit and miss, but I know staff use many different methods depending on the project. For example, when we did North of the Nith, we had an actual pop-up in the park, which was really successful and was something new we tried. And it was a good methodology, but there's no real perfect answer, but I think we're always willing to try different ways. And I think everybody's so busy nowadays, the community's so busy that a lot of times the online methodology is where we get most of the hits, I would say. But there's still a good number of the community like myself who prefer to meet in person. So I think we'll continue to do both and to do our best to get the message out there.
Councilor Miller?
Yeah, just to follow up, and I appreciate the answer from Phil. I know, and I use the example of planning applications. One way we get the word out is by putting a sign up and saying, there's a planning application for this property. So maybe that's something we could look at down the road. If we're doing some work in the park, we actually have something posted in the park and what the plans are, you know, who to contact if anybody has any questions, along with the other things. So something as simple as that would certainly let the neighbors know, I think anyways. I think sometimes I wonder if we don't rely too much on the electronic world. So, okay, but other than that, I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Any other, Councillor Oakley?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, if I may, I just want to, I think this is the first meeting that I've had a chance to say it since we got Friday file a couple weeks back from our operations and communications team in regard to an initiative Councillor Miller originally brought forward, I think going on a year ago, in regards to veterans crosswalks and veterans memorials and things that we're going to do to help support the Legions for their 100th anniversary. I just want to, really give kudos to staff for working with all four Legions, making sure that we're doing something meaningful, important, that has the buy-in from the Legions there. So I just wanted to give props to that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Anyone else have any other business before we go to councillor updates? Councillor Chambers?
I was just going to add to what Councillor Oakley had said, and yourself and myself, we had the opportunity to attend the Burford Cathcart Harley Legion Long Service Award banquet, and they had mentioned that they were very appreciative of the efforts that, and actually the staff members got even named at the meeting, so as did Councillor Miller. So they are very appreciative of that.
Great. Anything else under other business? If not, we'll go right to councillors' updates. Councillor McAlpine, do you want to tell us about your car show on Sunday? Since I can't get out of my driveway and I didn't know about it. Go ahead, Councillor McAlpine.
Yeah, Sunday, the St. George Business Association's having their annual, this will be their 5th annual car show. And we've been having up to over 200 cars at the show, and we're looking forward to another very successful year. So,
How many are in front of my driveway, Councillor McAlpine?
we've narrowed it down to about 10.
That's great, thank you. Anyone else have anything they want to say about their awards? Anything coming up this weekend? Oh, okay. With that, we're going to go to number 15 on the agenda, which is we're going to go in camera. Councillor Bell is going to take us there.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chambers, that County of Brant Council convene in camera to discuss brackets S239 brackets 2 brackets C, proposed pending acquisition stroke disposition of land by the municipality, and brackets K, a position plan procedure to be applied to negotiations, brackets RPT 024626, supplementary report to options analysis for the future of the Borkett Centre, A. Crozier, close brackets.
Okay, all those in favor? And we're going to go in camera. We're going to take a 10-minute recess. Okay, we're back in open session, and we have to ratify 15-1. Who's going to make that motion? Counselor Pierce?
For the
Oh, I'm sorry, 15-2.
15-2,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, are you going to do all of them? 15-2, 3? Oh, yours is a report.
Just the report. I'm only doing one, Mr.
Okay,
Mayor.
okay, that's fine. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Now we're doing 15-3 and 4 and 5. That's Counselor Kyle. Are you still up for all three of those? Okay, looking for a seconder. Counselor Oakley. All those in favor? Okay, and I've just been told that Adam's presentation needs to be ratified too. Counselor House, looking for a seconder. Counselor Oakley, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. Okay, that now takes us to bylaws. Counselor Bell, you have those. Is that right? No, Counselor Howes has the bylaws, sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Oakley, but that bylaws number 75-26 to 81-26 be read a first time.
Thank you. All those in favor of the first reading of the bylaws? Okay, do it again, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Oakley that bylaws number 75-26 to 81-26 be read a second time and all preambles and clauses be adopted.
Any questions on the bylaws for the second reading? Seeing none, all those in favor? If you can do it just one more time, please, Counselor House.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Oakley that bylaws number 75-26 to 81-26 be read a third time, passed, signed, and executed.
All those in favor of the third reading of the bylaws? Okay. Okay, is there anything else for the betterment of the county of Brant? Seeing none, we will, Okay, so I'm going to adjourn the meeting, but we meet again on July the 6th at 6 o'clock.